everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all are having a great week so far. And in today's video, I'm really excited because I am going to be talking about eyeshadow palettes, which are one of my favorite things in the entire world. And in today's video, I'm talking about eyeshadow palettes that are still on my wish list. So these are palettes that have maybe been out for a little while, like for a few months or something like that. They're not necessarily new releases. Some of them might be a little bit newer than others, but they're eyeshadow palettes that I've been thinking about that have kind of been on the back of my mind, on my radar, etc. So I did get this video idea originally from Andrea Matillano. I'll go ahead and link her channel down below. She came out with this video about a couple weeks ago, maybe even a month by now, and it was such a good idea. I really loved hearing what palettes were still, on her mind, palettes that she was still thinking about. And so I went ahead and created a list of palettes that are still on my radar and ones that I'm still thinking about purchasing. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm definitely going to be putting a picture of the palette on the screen so that you guys know exactly which palette I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and just jump right on in. So the first palette that immediately came to mind is the Alter Ego Aurora palette. Now, this palette, I have really been just pining over it for so long. I absolutely love the color story. This is actually a dupe for the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette, which was the palette that she first came out with in that size, and so it's one of her $65 palettes. Now, whenever I saw the palette originally from Natasha Denona, I was very intrigued, again, by the size, by the price, but also the color story. I did already own the Natasha Denona Biba palette at the time, and so I wasn't completely convinced on her formula, and so I went ahead and just kind of took a step back and decided not to purchase the Sunrise palette. Well, I kind of just forgot about the palette. I wasn't thinking about it, but then it still was kind of on the back of my mind because I absolutely love that color story. So I did find out later on that Profusion had come out with the Mirage palette, and I do own that one, and that is also a very similar color story to the Sunrise palette. Well, later on, I did find out that Alter Ego came out with the Aurora palette, and this palette is an exact dupe for the Natasha Denona one. I've seen many videos comparing the two, and all of them have been really good reviews. And I do own the Goddess palette already from Alter Ego, and so I know the formula is really well. I don't have any problems with blending out the shades or the shimmers or anything like that. So this one is definitely on my wish list, and it's probably going to be the one that I purchase out of, like, for sure, 100% out of all of these palettes. Okay, so moving on, the Tati Beauty Textured Neutrals Volume 1 palette has definitely been one that I've been thinking about. I knew right away that I didn't want to purchase it. I don't follow Tati, no reason at all. I just happened to never really stumble across her channel, and I don't have a huge interest to. I'm pretty set on who I watch, and I really have just grown to love every, YouTuber that I watch, etc. So her palette at first did not interest me. I thought it was kind of a weird concept, but it's also a really great concept at the same time. But I just knew right away that I didn't want it. I wasn't going to get it. Well, a lot of the YouTubers that I watch consistently speak about this palette. They consistently talk about how beautiful it is, how easy it is to work with, how the glitters are their favorite, glitter formula that's ever existed. And to me, that is really impressive for people to love glitter shadow that much, because I know so many people are so picky when it comes to glitter, whether it's too finely pressed so glitter gets all over your face, or it's too chunky, or it doesn't stay put on the eyes, things like that. And I've heard nothing but great things about the Tati glitter formula. So that is definitely the reason why I would want this palette, is because so many people consistently give it great reviews. The only reason that's kind of keeping me holding back is it's pretty much the same colors, except for obviously like the glitter and shimmers and things like that. So I know that she has like the matte formula on the very bottom, and then she has like the sequined formula right above that. And to me, I get really frustrated when, companies include shades like that in a palette, because they pretty much just blend like mattes. As soon as you start blending them into the crease, the shimmer pretty much goes away, and so it's just like a duplicate matte shade. And so I feel like that's what's holding me back from purchasing that palette, because I feel like I'm going to have double of everything, if that makes any sense. Next up, this is one of the newest palettes that's actually on my radar, is the ColourPop Blush Crush palette. Now, whenever I saw it, I was just like, it's just another blush palette, it's just another like mauve toned palette, and I thought nothing of it. Well, I actually saw Samantha March do like a get ready with me using this palette, and I thought the look she came up with was so beautiful. Whenever she did swatches, I just thought it was so, like, I thought it was such a stunning palette. I did swatch it in Ulta in store, and I have to say, I feel like there's not enough depth for me within the palette. I know that overall it's supposed to be kind of like a soft glam palette. You're not, you know, really going to get really intense, like smoky looks or anything, but I definitely want something that provides enough depth to put into my outer corner. And I feel like I may not get that with this palette, but it's definitely something that I'm keeping in mind. It's a beautiful palette, and it kind of does remind me a little bit of like the Charlotte Tilbury, you know, type palettes, where a lot of them are kind of like those pinky blush tones. And so I wonder if I would get kind of like a similar effect, and that's kind of what's keeping me, you know, intrigued by the palette. Okay, so the next palette is actually from Huda Beauty. This is the Nude Medium palette. So she did come out, I guess you could say, kind of recently, with 3 palettes all in like the nude family. So she created one for light skin tones, medium skin tones, and dark skin tones. And basically, I guess it really doesn't matter. You can use any palette you want, but I guess she just tried to do that with all skin tones in mind. And so I really do appreciate that aspect, but I really did enjoy the Nude Medium palette. I felt like the lights kind of lacked that depth, kind of like what I was saying about the ColourPop palette earlier. But the rich was a little bit, you know, too rich for me. But the medium one was kind of like that sweet spot. I feel like it kind of had enough of everything. It had enough of like those mauve type, like purpley taupey shades, but also some of like those browns that I like. So that's definitely one that I'm considering. I actually don't own anything from Huda Beauty at all. There's been a few things that have been on my radar, like a few lipsticks from her, also like her Tantour, her eyeshadow palettes, but I think I would be okay with starting off with one of like her 9 pans, since they are a little bit more affordable in comparison to her full-sized eyeshadow palettes. So that is one that I, you know, definitely am thinking about. I would love to go into Sephora and kind of like play around with it and see how I feel about the formula. The next palette is definitely the most boring out of all of these palettes, but for some reason, and I think it's because I watched Nicole Cutler here on YouTube, the Dose of Colors Baked Browns palette has been one that's been on my list for a while. I really do enjoy the Dose of Colors eyeshadow formula. I own the Blushing Berries, the Marvelous Mauves, and the Pretty Cool palette, and all of those are in that same, you know, 5-pan type eyeshadow palette. And so the Baked Browns one is actually Nicole Cutler's absolute favorite. I really adore her makeup and her eyeshadow looks. I think that she creates some really beautiful looks. And since she raves about it, I kind of just want it. I kind of am going like fangirl over it. And so that is one that I can also buy off of Ulta Beauty's website. If not, sometimes Dose of Colors has like a really great, you know, website sale. They also have a really great Black Friday sale. So it might be one that I kind of keep in the back of my mind and maybe try and purchase. The only one at that point that I will not have is the Sassy Siennas, but I actually used to have that one and then I sold it because I didn't like it. I felt like it was a little bit too warm tone for me. And so I think with the Baked Browns, I'll be very happy with the Dose of Colors 5-pan palettes that I have. So I actually have 2 palettes from Juvia's Place that are on my wish list. I currently only have one, and it's the Nubian 3 Coral palette, and I've been meaning to really put that into my Shop My Stash rotation just because it's been a very long time since I've used that palette, and that's probably going to be the palette that I use within my next rotation, if not sooner, if I just decide to pull it out. But the 2 palettes from Juvia's, the first one is the Magic Mini palette. Now, Kelly Gooch is the one who ultimately inspired me about this palette. She, time and time and again, talks about this palette and how much she loves the looks that she creates with it and how it's very unique. The colors are very unique. And it's kind of funny because whenever I used to look at the Magic Mini palette by Juvia's Place, I thought, what an ugly palette. That sounds so mean, but, you know, ugly is, like, just because I don't like the palette doesn't mean somebody else does, by, you know, by any means. It's just, I saw it and I thought, what a weird color story. And I thought it never made sense. But then whenever she would create looks with it, I was like, wow, like that's a really beautiful look, or wow, like that's a really unique shade, or things like that. And so that's kind of one that I'm thinking about. I'm kind of beating myself up because Juvia's Place recently had a half off sale on their website, and I actually use Shop Tagger, and Shop Tagger is what notified me that that palette was half off at the time. But I guess I just wasn't completely convinced because I didn't purchase it, and that's totally fine. I want to be absolutely sure whenever I make purchases and not just, impulsively buy things. So that's definitely one that's still on my radar though. The second palette from Juvia's Place that's on my wish list is the new like mini chocolates palette. So Juvia's Place came out with mini palettes. I think they came out with like 5 of them, like 5 color stories. And the one that I really, really like is the chocolates one. I feel like that one is such a beautiful combination of like grungy slash like that beautiful like mustard shade in there. I just really, really love the way that all of those colors kind of flow together. And I also love that it's a 6-pan palette because it's really small, but I think they did a really great job at incorporating a good like shimmer to matte ratio within the palette. And that one just really speaks to me and it calls my name. So definitely thinking about that one. I might pick up that one and the Magic Mini at the same time if they happen to have that 50% off, on the website again. I also have 2 palettes from Jeffree Star. Now, I'm actually referencing a lot of YouTubers in this video, and I do apologize. I just happen to watch a lot of the same ones, and a lot of them tend to inspire me and inspire my purchases. But anyways, I actually don't watch Jeffree Star. Just kind of the same thing with Tati. Nothing against them. I just never really stumbled across their channel, and I don't have a huge interest to like start doing that. But I do watch. I think it's like Leora Makeup Lovers and then a number. I'll link her channel down below. I'll link everybody's channel down below that I'm talking about within today's video. But I absolutely love Leora. She's one of my favorite YouTubers. She actually might be my favorite YouTuber. She's so down to earth. She's so funny. And I feel like I'm literally talking to like my best friend whenever I watch her videos. She's really awesome. But she loves Jeffree Star. She pretty much collects a lot of stuff from Jeffree Star. She has a whole like display on, in her bedroom of Jeffree Star Cosmetics stuff, like, eyeshadow palettes, lipsticks, things like that. And she created, I don't know if she created a look or maybe like she posted an Instagram picture or something, and she was talking about the Blood Sugar palette. And I think the Blood Sugar palette is so stunning. I never was one to like reds, but I think that palette has so many shades that complement the reds and the pinks and the purples and those like bronzy colors. It just looks like such a beautiful palette in my opinion. And it's kind of one that I'm really, pining over in the meantime. It's one that I think is really, really beautiful. And I think whenever, maybe if I go into like a Morphe store, I might swatch it and see, how I feel about it. But really, really looking into that blood sugar palette. And then the second one is the new Bloodlust palette. Now this one I'm definitely not purchasing anytime soon. It's probably sold out still. I have no idea. But I know how popular Jeffree Star is and how popular his makeup is, that it may not even be in stock because this is a very, very new release. But I think the Bloodlust palette is so stunning. And at first, whenever I saw it, I thought, oh, it just looks like the It's My Pleasure palette from ColourPop. But some of those shimmer shades just look so stunning. I think that they look really beautiful on the eyes. They kind of have like that duochrome effect. And I also really like the other shades that he paired with those purple shades. I know that there's been a lot of lash on the palette that, saying that it's not, purple enough, things like that. But I kind of like that about it because, like I said, ColourPop has the It's My Pleasure palette, and I feel like if it was more purple, then a lot of people would be comparing it to the It's My Pleasure palette. So I kind of like that he incorporated more than just a monochromatic purple palette. I feel like ColourPop really did enough of that in 2019 in my opinion. But the Bloodlust palette just looks super stunning. Again, Leora did do a video on the entire, or most of the collection, and her look that she came up with the Bloodlust palette was so stunning. Like, it was so beautiful, and really her video just really made me want to purchase it. So those two palettes from Jeffree Star, you know, I'm definitely considering. I don't know if I will go out and buy them necessarily, but I will continue to think about them and see how I feel about purchasing them. And then finally, I have one last eyeshadow palette to talk about. And this one is actually from a brand that I've never tried. Actually, I've never tried Huda. I've never tried Jeffree Star either. So I guess it's not super unique in that sense. But Kaleidos Cosmetics has a eyeshadow palette that I'm really considering. And I think I'm really considering this one, especially because it is a little bit more affordable. It is an indie brand, and so that's really awesome as well. But it is their Futurism 1 Sci-Fi Green palette. Now, the first time I ever saw this, I think it was either in Leora's video or maybe a video from Andrea, the same Andrea who created this style video that I'm filming right now. And it looked, immediately whenever I saw it, it looked like the Melt Cosmetics Gemini palette. And so many people rave about the Gemini palette from Melt Cosmetics, and they say that it's like their favorite palette and that it's like such a great formula and the shades are so pretty. But for some reason, when I see this Kaleidos one, it looks like the Melt makeup one, or Melt Cosmetics one. And so I don't understand why more people aren't talking about that. Like, they look so similar to me. Like, as soon as I saw it, I immediately thought the Melt Cosmetics one. So maybe it's just me, but no one else is talking about that, and it seems like they could be really comparable dupes to one another. So I don't know, but I really am interested in that one. I've heard really great things about Kaleidos, and so I'm interested to see what their eyeshadow palette formula is like. That will wrap up today's video. Those are all of the eyeshadow palettes that are on my wish list, all of the older eyeshadow palettes that are on my wish list. I really hope that you enjoyed this type of video. Please let me know if you did enjoy it in the comments down below. If you would like for me to do more style videos like this, maybe with like face products or maybe just another eyeshadow palette wish list video, definitely let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys are, you know, thinking about purchasing, what other eyeshadow palettes you're thinking about putting into your collection. I would love to know. So if you did enjoy today's video, please do give it a thumbs up. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would love to have you here, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!